Hey guys, it's Ross here. Welcome to episode 6 of the Broadcast Sports Package tutorial series. Sorry I've been gone for over a week. I've been in London, but I am back and let's get started. Alright, so where we left off before is we were in cinema. We rendered out our three takes here. We have a full scene with the camera zooming in on the logo. We have a couple macro shots of the floor, close up of the logo, and we did a composite of a still shot of just one frame. While between 5 and 6, I rendered out the image sequence overnight, and this is what the eagles look like, but we're going to composite the giants together, and we're going to also do the macro shots together today. All right, let's jump in and let's see what we got. All right, so from what I'm seeing here, it looks like we have some pretty good energy. We're probably not going to stay on the logo for as many frames as we have here, but pad is always good. So let's see what the giants look like in a very similar layout. Front end, let's do Philadelphia. Let's duplicate that. This will be New York Giants. This front end, this one, and Philadelphia folder. Let's make another folder, New York Giants, and let's import all these image sequence. Giants, full. Depth. I should really get that plugin that just auto imports everything. That'd be nice, but I really hate having plugins. You get to a point where it's just too many plugins and you just want to go back to default After Effects or default Cinema. It's just too much to keep up with. Yeah, everything just gets too many upgrades way too quickly, and next thing you know, you're like, okay, everything seems to be out of date or mixed matching with versions and things aren't working, and it quickly snowballs. Is that the last one? I think I have one more. Yeah. Alright. So, name our field, fill, New York Giants. Depth. And all we're doing is replacing. Turn names back on. Puzzle mats. Front end. Emission. Fraction. Specular, AO, fog, right now I'm just making sure that I have none or no colors that are associated with the eagles. I think I'm okay. Oh no, here we go. Let's bring up New York Giant colors again. Okay, let's do red. Mission red. Red. see what we have here. Let's fix this. All right, while it's loading, we can talk about how I set up all these renders overnight. So if we go to Cinema, you'll see I have all my takes set up for full, macro 1, macro 2. And if you go into the render settings here, I have all of my duration set up with the render settings. If you right click here, you can add in whatever render settings you want. You can also add in whatever camera you need, and you just set that up beforehand, and then you just do render mark takes, and it will send that to the queue. So super useful. I totally recommend using takes. It's going to save you so much time, especially while you sleep. You know everything's going to be taken care of, everything is marked, everything's labeled. It just makes your life so much easier. This I don't like. It's purple. Why is it purple? Is it this one? It's this one. Maybe for this one we should go blue. Yeah, that looks better. I think it was because the reds and blues are mix matching. So I think it's just reflection. Let's keep going. Yeah, with anything brand, you always want to keep an eye on colors, because if a blue looks green, or if a red looks pink, or so on and so forth, the client can get a little upset about that. So always keep an eye on your colors. Make sure they're true to the brand color, or at least close. Of course, when you're in a 3D space, you're going to get gradients, you're going to get reflections, shadows that are going to go on top of your colors. There's nothing you can really do about that. But especially with glows, you want to make sure that you're as close as possible to the color. This is as far as we need to go with this one. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, that's looking nice. So once we get past the composition phase, we're going to be adding some 2D layers on top, which will add in the final touch. So you see that quite often in broadcasts. You'll have a nice 3D render, but you'll also have 2D logos, shape layers moving across the screen, and that pulls it all together with your lower thirds, with your the icons on the bottom left or bottom right. We call them bugs. But yeah, it ties it to the 2D graphics, which will lay on top of everything on broadcast. So if you have that 2D element in your 3D, it just blends it a lot better. Also adds a lot of the brand colors back into it that 3D loses. But we will tackle that in the next episode. But this episode, we're just worrying about all of our image sequences that we rendered out. Okay, let's create a macro folder. Macro 1, fill, giants. So fill. A lot of times you can get away with the same composition setup, but we'll know more on that once we, okay, we need AO. Sorry guys, I'm still a little bit out of it from all the traveling, but I will bounce back. Depth. Position. Puzzlement. Fraction. Specular. Am I missing anything? Or does it feel like it's... Okay. Let's just import giants. I guess that should go in front end. This is the front end of, yeah, I'll move everything in there after the fact. I'm gonna move this whole folder, macro one, inside front end, just to make sure that if I go back to this a month from now and I need to look for something, all I have to do is look for the front end and I'll find my macro shots. Okay. Yo. Nope. Wrong hotkey. Depth. Mission. Puzzlement. Fraction. Specular. Nice. Alright, so let's move everything in here. Delete that. Okay. And we could do front end, macro, 01, fill. Alright. I think we're going to leave this, but mission, fraction, specular, yeah, and get a depth field in here. Macro 1. Depth. Trend. Sure. Okay, cool. Let's just see what we have. Definitely have to mess with that depth of field. Let's see. I actually baked in the depth of field. What do we have here? don't need ocean blur. Oh, that's trippy right there. I don't know if I like that. I like the glow. We need this glow. That separates the logo from the ground. Up this a little bit more. Fractions, specular. I don't know if we need more specular. It's already pretty shiny. Let's see. The last motion blur. It's like 35. And that's the type of movement that we're looking for, just something quick. Maybe not that quick, now that I'm seeing it in real time. Maybe that would have been nice if it was this paste here. So I'll have to revisit that. It could possibly work. Alright, we'll circle back to that. Alright, let's do the same thing for giants. Specular and AO. See what we have here. Should be very similar. Should be super quick. Maybe we could possibly darken this too. Make the light so quick that it's almost like just a hint. Yeah, that could be like a quick flash to introduce the environment, and then it goes into, yeah, let's just see what this looks like once we're in macro 2. Let's put all this in. Fill. Giants. Always good to stay organized. Front end, fill, macro 2. Depth. I think I went over AO. Yep, AO. Emission. Puzzle mat. refraction. Specular lighting. Okay. Duplicate the front end again. Macro O2. Okay. All right. Let's duplicate this. Trim it. Puzzle nets. To emission, refraction, specular, AO. All right, let's just see what we're dealing with, and then we go from there. So right now what I'm looking for is just, can this work with 2D on top? Can this work for a quick transition from macro 1 and 2 to the front end? And just making sure these mix well. It's looking like it has potential. Yeah, this definitely has potential. I'm not really worried about this little part here that kind of goes out as part of the ripple effect, because this is going to have a transition in, so you won't even see this. It'll probably be fully visible around the 10 frame mark. Yeah, this will work. Okay, so let's duplicate this. This will be New York Giants. Let's import the image sequences for that. So a lot of package design is rinse and repeat. Once you get the initial look down, it's just duplicating, switch out the image sequences, make a small few tweaks, and you normally have a finished product. There are cases where, especially when you get further into a package, that you want to get more involved in a slightly different route. But that's more of a special case-by-case basis. Usually when you get the look down, you want to stay within the look as much as possible, because the more you open up a package, the more broad it gets, and the less that people associate your package with a certain look. So I'm not puzzling that. Okay. And I think I missed refraction. Okay. So 2, yeah, Giants here. J. Field. Oh, I forgot to switch it over. Oh, no, wrong one. This one. Yep. Okay. So I wanted to make sure. want that one. Wasn't it? Emission, refraction, specular, AO. Let's go to emission. This could be that one. This can be that one. All right, let's see what we're dealing with. Not sure if I'm a fan of that. Definitely could use some work, but enough to keep moving forward, maybe. You can always circle back to it. A lot of times in the package, you'll see something you want to fix, but sometimes you're like, is it good enough? Because you don't want to be stuck just fixing something over and over again. You spend way too much time on a detail that a lot of people just wouldn't care about. I don't know if I picked the right spot for this macro shot. It's not terrible, but maybe I should have centered it a little bit more. I know my original thought was to capture the side, and so this way you can see the glass a little bit more, and then also the little bit of the environment, but with the full composite, it is looking a little bit dark back there. Like I wanted this detail over here too. All right, it's enough to move forward. We will deal with that. All right, let's see what we're working with. Let's put all of these in a comp. See on composition, we will need that 3-inch frames. And shrink these down. It's taking a while. Okay. It's a macro 01. Macro 02. Let's do our math correctly here. So this was that. Calculator out 3840 times 3. Let's divide that by. Actually, let's do. No, we can do this another way. All right, that works. So quick math. Okay. Macro 1 2 front end. Go. This black. render this out. Preview setting is fine. Yeah. Let's do. Oh. Let's make an exports folder. I should repeat these. It's 30. It's gonna take a while to render. What frame does it end on? Because we don't need to see the full sequence. Yeah, let's just do 30 frames. Maybe let's copy these. We'll see 2 seconds worth. Okay. Let's render that to exports. All right, while that's rendering, we can chat about next steps and where we're going to go from here. All right, so with a couple macro shots, our in shot at the front end, we're going to see how they look side by side. Then we're going to start layering things together and putting in some 2D elements on top. So I'm not sure if next episode I want to do more 3D or if I should stick with some 2D and really get that toolkit fleshed out. So I'll let you guys know in the beginning of the episode what I plan on doing for the next one. It might be toolkitting for 2D. So creating some 2D transitions, some 2D logo swooshes and pop-ins and pop-outs, and some logo flashes. We'll just create a bunch of stuff that we can put on top of our 3D that animates out, animates in, and we'll get some really nice layering on top. That takes some time, but if you really flesh out your toolkit, you can make even an average looking 3D render look pretty good. What is going on? Why is it taking so long? Maybe I need to do an update. Alright, we're just going to cancel this. It is taking forever. What is going on? Even at quarter resolution? I was hoping to give you guys a preview side by side of everything, but it seems like my computer is not liking this. Alright. Well, we tried, but we are working in 4K, so that could be a reason. So let's just end that preview. And we can probably just render these by themselves and then import into our scene. Let's see what that does. When you get like a bigger package too, especially when you start mixing and matching these, we're gonna have already a full render of each, an MOV, probably ProRes, and then we're gonna composite them together using those final files rather than the working compositions, because you're able to mix match these in later edits, and it can look real nice. Yeah, I should have just done this from the start. Just running them by themselves and then re-import them back into the scene, create a preview comp, and grant preview that. Yeah, as we move forward, I'm going to create a folder, put all this in front end. I'll have a transitions folder. I'll put another folder. Like, we're just going to create everything into one package, or everything into one After Effects file, just to keep things organized that we can jump back and forth. But normally you would have an After Effects scene per project on a project case basis. Like, you would have everything in a front end folder, and then you would have a separate folder for all transitions, and sometimes you would even have, on a per transition basis, have a separate project folder. It really depends on the complexity of your project. For this one, we're keeping it pretty simple, so I'm just keeping everything into one. There's no simulations here, there's no dynamics going on. We're not having a baked out file that's going to be like 20 gigs or more. It's pretty light, but that's something to think about as you're building stuff. Just make sure when you have large files that it makes sense to merge them into a smaller project file or a larger project file. Just keep in mind that it takes time to open up those, to save them down, to sync them in a server. So all that is you want to keep in mind. Yeah, a lot to cover, but we'll get there. There is no rush on this podcast package tutorial. We're going to try to cover as much as we can, and just have fun while doing it. We're almost to the front ends. So that's something I can go back and correct. This should be glowing, I think. It's been a while. But I will double check that. Actually, I can check that while this is rendering. Is this tube? Let's go to me. Oh, already finished on that one. Yeah, I think that was just glass. This is glowing. This is just glass. Yeah, so I think we're okay. Let's just exit out of this one. Save some memory. let me know if you guys want me to cut out render time or if you enjoy seeing how long these actually take, because I can definitely cut this out. But I think it's also important just to see how long this actually takes, what render times are realistic and what other render times are not. Yeah, like just from my time going from different companies and seeing different pipeline workflows, I've seen some workflows take a lot longer than others and for very specific reasons. A lot of times it's user error, but yeah, just sometimes you just have to take the render hit. But other times you can dodge it just by simply knowing what you need and what you don't need. Some projects don't even need EXRs. I know a lot of people love them, but a PNG and an EXR can sometimes look identical, and your file sizes will be a fraction of the size. All right, we're almost there. Two more. Okay. While that's rendering, let's go here, prop them up. While these are rendering, I can go over some codecs. So your H.264, that's something that you want to kick out when you're previewing or if you're looking for approval before rendering out your final. A lot of times people just render out their final and then use Media Encoder to kick out a H.264, because you can send an H.264 through the web, you can upload it, whereas an MOV, like your Apple ProRes, your animation files, your AVIs, those are your final files, and they're going to be large. They're going to be like 10 gigabytes or larger. Like, I think the largest one I've had so far has been 150 gigabytes. That was I think a 3-minute animation. It was pretty large. Files, like scale-wise and resolution, and also duration. But yeah, definitely try to optimize when you can, and save on your time on uploading and downloading. It's just, you can save so much time just by knowing what you need, like I said before. I'm running out of things to talk about while these things are rendering. Yeah, if you guys have something you want me to touch, feel free to comment below. I can go over that while I'm doing these series. I can do some quick tips. So as I'm definitely running out of ideas on quick tips. Like, I'm usually, when I'm working on something and I see something, I'm like, oh, that could be a quick tip. Like, I haven't thought about making something until I ran into the issue myself, or if I got asked a question at work, or while I'm working on some freelance. But yeah, definitely need more ideas, so feel free to comment below so I can put that into the pipeline. We are almost there, 32% on the last render. Actually, no, there's one more to go. We're on New York Giants front end. There's one more. a good trick too, if you open up your task manager, you can see how much CPU and memory it's taking. And if you're not at 100%, or if you're under, I would say 70%, you can normally open up another piece of software. Did they get rid of GPU? I thought normally Task Manager shows GPU as well. But yeah, normally when you're rendering After Effects, you can work in cinema. So a lot of times you can like start your next scene, do some touch-ups that you're seeing while you're rendering, and just multitask. It's pretty useful to be able to render something and also do something else at the same time. What else? Well, Maxon recently upgraded to 2026. I'm not a big fan of their logo. It's looking very similar to the Embergen, Liquidgen, and Geogen. To me, it's like the same style. So I wonder if that's going to be some type of merger happening in the future. I don't know. It's just a huge change from their previous look to this look. It's definitely, I like the flat look, but I think the gradient is a bit much, unless they're going to be merging with the Django effects. But yeah, I love Liquidgen and Embergen. I haven't messed with Geogen much, but Embergen, Liquidgen, big fan. Love real-time rendering, or real-time simulation. Game changer. Almost there, come on. Alright, while we're previewing that, we can look at our front end, or our macro shots. That's looking pretty good. What about Philadelphia? It's not as bad as I was thinking it was going to be. So that's a plus. I still don't know if I'm a fan of this. Phillies isn't bad. Giants could use a second pass. The main camera for the front ends is looking pretty good, though. I do have to say that it's looking pretty good. 2D on top. I can already see what it's going to look like with all the 2D on top. It'll do the trick. What are we looking at render time wise? So the macro shots are looking about 2 minutes of composition. That's not too bad. But the front end, I think it's going to be around 10 minutes, 10 to 13. Because this started at 8:10. Yeah, probably 10 minutes. Almost there. While that's rendering though. This is something you want to stay away from if possible. Pause it. This is all blown out. Ideally, you want to reserve your detail. So if I go back for a second pass, this is something I'll definitely correct. I'd probably just change my camera angle. I don't think we need to see this now that I'm seeing it fully rendered. Try to push the camera more to the right, angle it more straight, and I think we'd be good there. Giants just finished. Let's see what we have going on here. Oh yeah, that's looking good. Oh, now that I'm seeing this, I should have been spinning this island here. Yeah, there's always a lot more detail you could add to work when you see it in motion. I always recommend render what you have overnight, see what it looks like in motion, because a lot of times when you're previewing it in the viewport, you're not seeing what it could be. Yeah, I would love to spin this centerpiece. Spin this like left or right and spin this the opposite way. We could even add in some pin lights that are just randomly going off on the floor. So much stuff I want to do, just not enough time. The glass detail. This came out really nice. This area here. A lot of detail. This is almost done. Nope. Alright, well, we'll keep looking at this until Phillies is done. Or the Eagles. Let's see. Yeah, I might get rid of chromatic aberration. It's putting some greens over here. I don't know if it's actually helping us here. Some noise going on, but it's not too bad. Yeah, welcome to the joys of package design. A lot of it's just waiting for renders. So I would definitely recommend having your favorite drink, your favorite snack. And even better, if you have a fun colleague or person you can talk to every once in a while, that's fun too. Almost there. Come on. Yeah, if you guys don't want to watch all this, just fast forward. Yeah, there's definitely a lot more better things you can do than watching me render, but I think it's good to see this. Of course, not in real time. Definitely fast forward. Even as someone that wants to see what render time looks like, you can fast forward this and just look at the render times. But while you're doing your own renders, review your stuff as it's being kicked out while your other renders are going on if you're doing a batch. But if you're only doing one at a time, just review it at the end. Create like a little checklist on what you want to hit, and then just cross it out as you work. So a lot of times when you see something, but if you see a bunch of things, you can easily forget as you're fixing other stuff on your list. So it's good to make a list, a little checklist for yourself. Like for example, if you had a very highly technical problem that could easily take up a full day of your time, you may forget about the small stuff later on. Alright, we're almost there, 85%. I mean, not bad render times overall. For 4K, we're under 10 minutes for the 5-second one, and then all the rest are 2 minutes. Not bad. Like a lot of times, especially when you're dealing with 3D scenes, After Effects can take like a half hour to kick something out. Of course, you want to stay a half hour and below, ideally, especially for broadcast, because a lot of times you'll get 5 to like 7 requests a day if you're working under a company, and if render time's high, especially if there's multiple iterations of it, it could be a very tight turnaround time. Okay, let's go to here, exports, import all these, yep, and divide by 3. Okay. Let's go up one. Giants. Up one. There. Footage, let's just do like 3. Remember, apply. let's see what we're dealing with as a whole. Yeah, I did. Okay. Yeah, that's looking good. But we'll end this episode here. Um, and next episode will either be tweaking what we mentioned on this episode on stuff that we would want to fix, or 2D um, toolkitting on top, or 3, we could start something new and just keep moving forward. But we definitely want to put something together. So we'll probably do some toolkitting tomorrow. So this way we can composite all these 2 scenes together and create a sequence. So this way we'll at least have a fully fleshed out front end, and we can always add to it later, but at least we'll have something fully put together. Yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions. We'll hit it on the next episode if you do. And yep, I hope you have a nice night. Thanks. Bye.